Hello my book friends and welcome back to another book review. Today we are going to be discussing the much highly anticipated read I think a lot of people have been waiting for 2021, and that is The Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. Now I know this looks different than those, but I don't know, guys. The cover kind of grew on me as I continued to stare at it. Let me know what you guys think, but I actually grew to love this cover. I know when the cover first dropped, people were like, ew, I don't like it. The old covers were better. Unpopular opinion? Probably. Now, if you don't know what A Court of Silver Flames is about, I'm just gonna direct you to these bad boys over there. This book actually follows a different character, one that we know from the previous books. Those books were in the point of view of Feyre Archeron, and now this book is about Nesta Archeron, which is her sister. And if you guys have read A Court of Thorns and Roses, Nesta was not like the most beloved character, not in my universe, like she wasn't. I mean, I thought she was just really kind of mean. I was really excited to see what Sarah J. Maas was going to bring to the table with this one. I highly recommend, if you are going to read this book, I highly recommend you read this novella before, reading this book, because it's just like, it builds up to what happens in this book, although it's not necessary, like you don't need to read it. This book starts where this one ended. Although I didn't like Nesta in the previous books, though, I grew to love her so much in this book. Her and Cassian, they are just phenomenal. I love Cassian, and I'm glad that we got some chapters. Every other chapter is in his point of view, which I really enjoyed seeing things from his eyes. And if you're on the fence because you also didn't like Nesta in the previous books, just go read it. I mean, it's another book in this world. They're one of my favorite books. We get to know more about the Court of Thorns and Roses world in this book. We get to learn more about previous characters and what they're doing after these books, and oh my gosh, you have to read it. We have to discuss it. So that is my non-spoilery section. I believe I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. That is it for the non-spoilery section. Do not spoil yourselves and go read this book. It's a very big book. My mom took one look at it and said it looked like a dictionary. And I said, Mom, it's much more than that. So guys, this book, like I said before, really just starts off basically where we ended with the novella Equifax. Nesta is not in a good place at all. She is drinking. She is inviting strangers into her bed. She's just wasting away. She's very mean. And that was one of the reasons why her character just didn't appeal to me, because I didn't understand why she was so mean, and just how she could be so hateful towards people that obviously loved her and wanted the best for her. But I'm really glad that we got this book in her point of view, because it all makes sense. So the book starts out, Feyre and Rhysand are telling Nesta that she is gonna have to go up to the House of Wind and train and work at the library with all the priestesses, and Nesta is just she's got an attitude, obviously, because she's you're not my High Lord, you're not gonna tell me what to do. Rhysand's just Nesta, sit down. Nesta, you better sit down. You better sit down right now. I really love Rhysand. I love Rhysand. I love Feyre. But you know what's really funny is that through this book, in the eyes of Nesta, I understand why she kind of hates Rhysand sometimes, because sometimes he can come off a little domineering, and it's just Rhysand, chill, come on, chill out. I just think it's so funny how in the last books I just adored him. Anything that he did, I was just Rhysand, I love you so much. Rhysand could do no wrong. But in this book, I'm just come on, Rhysand, you're being annoying right now. I was just ready for Nesta and Cassian to get to know each other better, which they did. A lot. I was mostly here for the romance, and obviously seeing Rhysand and Feyre after the war. But we also have this plot going around in the book, because we have to have plot, we can't just sit around falling in love all day long with Cassian. The Autumn Court High Lord is teaming up with one of those old, ugly, mean queens, human queens, in order to get the 3 dead trove. And this is the mask, the harp, and the crown. And all of these things can do terrible things. And because the queen herself is a little bit made by the cauldron, she can go and find the things, because she's also made so calls to light. She can track down those things. So that plot is going around in the background. We also work with Eris, the Autumn Court High Lord's son, which is also Lucien's brother, which I always forget. I always forget that they're related somehow. Now, I heard some people like over on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, saying that Eris was just like, that they loved Eris, but like, I don't know. I'm on the fence with him as well. Like, I like him, I think, but do I like him? Do I really? I mean, I think he's an arrogant jerk. Let's just put it at that. I think he has room to grow as a person. He's done a lot of bad things in his past, which I want to know more about, because there seems like there's more to the story. The things that went on with Moore and him, there seems to be more to the story, and I want to know what is going on. He kept insinuating that Moore wasn't telling the entire truth. What is he talking about? Like, I want to know more about that, and I'm hoping that in the next books, like, which, okay, I'm like babbling right now, but like, I'm hoping in the next books we find more about Moore and what happened with Eris and all of that, why he did what he did. I'm also wondering how many books that we're gonna get in this world, because there seems to be so many characters that we could get books from. Like, we get books from Azriel, Elaine, Lucien. I just want to know how many books we're gonna get, which, I mean, like, if there's like 1,000,000 books, I'd be so happy. I love that each couple gets like one book, because it's not like being drawn out. Let's talk about the House of the Wind. The House. The House is basically like another character in itself. Before I really started reading this book, I kept seeing like tweets being like, oh, and this is just like a funny tweet that I saw. Somebody said like, the House has a bigger personality than Elaine. It kind of made me think about that one old Disney film called The Smart House, where the house is like a person, like a robotic person. Basically, the house had its own personality and became Nesta's friend. I loved all those bonding moments when he would give her all these like smutty novels to read, and she'd be like, what's your favorite book? And like a new book would just plop down in her lap. The house like really took care of Nesta in this book. Made sure that she stayed sober, made sure that she was warm, taken care of, even though she didn't want to have like a fire near. It just like kept her safe. And it was so cool, like so cool. Why can't my house do anything like that? Why? Like, why? So we're introduced to so many new characters, and I love it. I loved Gwen. Gwen and Emery, I love them so much. Those are some other people that I would like to see books from. Gwen is a priestess, and her and Nesta become really good friends. There was this one part where Gwen was talking about her boss, like she was like writing a book, and I just thought this was so crazy because, you know, people have been talking about all the worlds that Sarah J Maas has created and how like they all pretty much connect. Like, there are so many theories about every single series that Sarah J Maas has wrote, how they connect in some sort of way. Obviously in Throne of Glass, there's like a little bit where we see the Night Court. This was what Gwen said. She said, Meryl's brilliant, horrible but brilliant. When she first came here, she was obsessed with theories regarding the existence of different realms, different worlds living on top of each other, and basically just saying that there's like 26 of them. 26! Does that mean that Sarah J Maas is gonna write like 26 new series? Like, I love when books and their worlds connect. Also, okay, let's talk about Tamlin. I know, we don't want to talk about Tamlin, but let's talk about Tamlin. I remember reading Akathas, the novella, and we talk about Tamlin and how Tamlin is just not doing so good. Here's the thing, is that like there's one part of me that like really actually does not like Tamlin at all. I don't want to be near Tamlin. I don't want to read about Tamlin. Tamlin is also another character that we could possibly have a book about. He's done terrible things and I don't love him for it. But there's a part of me that is like, okay, but like all these other characters have done terrible things as well, and they have been redeemed, and I just feel like Tamlin should be in a way redeemed. Tell me what you guys think about that, because I feel bad for Tamlin. I'm sorry to say it, but I do. I felt some sympathy towards him in Akathas, and I'm still feeling some sympathy towards him in this book. Like, the boy, not the boy, he's not a boy. He is a High Lord, so definitely not a boy. He's like 100 years old. The man is a wreck. He's prowling his lands as a beast. Like, excuse me, Beauty and the Beast. Yes, yes, as a freaking beast. He's not controlling everything that's going on in the Spring Court, which, come on, Tamlin, pull yourself together, man. I don't know where that's going. I have some theories, okay, because they remember that one part where Elaine was talking about, or somebody was talking about Elaine and how Elaine would definitely love the spring court and how Nesta should bring Elaine to the spring court. Has Elaine yeah, Elaine definitely has met Tamlin. Not in the best way, you know, because when she got thrown into the cauldron. What if Elaine ends up with Tamlin? I don't know. Tell me what you guys think about that, because I do not ship Elaine and Azriel. I just don't. Okay, I read that little bonus chapter that had been going around with one of the exclusive editions. It was Azriel's point of view, and we get him talking to Elaine, and then we also get him talking to Gwen. Beloved Gwen, okay? Gwen deserves the world. Gwen has gone through so much. Hearing her story in this book, how she was talking about her twin sister and what happened when all those men came into their home, killed everyone, raped all those women. It was terrible. Beheaded her sister, Azriel and Mora and all of them, saved her. It honestly makes me want to cry. Gwen deserves the world, and I read the bonus chapter in Azriel's point of view, and it's on the internet. Just go look for it. I just don't think Azriel is meant for Elaine. There was a part in that bonus chapter where Azriel's shadows were connected to Gwen's singing. Azriel's a shadow singer. I just think like he is meant for her. Sorry, it's just what I think. I do like Elaine, but I do think that she could be with like either Lucien or Tamlin. Do you guys remember that one part in the library where Gwen and Nesta were like, they kept feeling like a darkness, like a presence? Gwen said, I can feel something, like a cat, small and clever and curious. It's watching. Tell me why. I kept thinking, when she said a cat, bells went off my head, and I started thinking about Crescent City, that one cat character, Adis, however you say it, because I still don't know. She said, I feel like a cat. And I was like, Adis, is that you? I don't think it is. I don't think it is, guys. But you know, the worlds are connected, so like maybe. Nesta's power. Nesta is so powerful. She is like one of the most powerful of all the High Fae. I think she even kind of rivals like Rhysand, because Rhysand was even kind of freaked out when she made those swords, which why didn't she make more? I'm confused. Like by the end of the book, like does she still have the power like that? Or because she gave some of her power back to the cauldron. I just want to know more about like, okay, what kind of powers does she have now? Does she still have that power to make those weapons? How powerful she is just crazy awesome. Like you can literally see the power in her eyes whenever she would get angry or just like emotional about something. Literally like silver fire. Her power is cold. It's not hot, it's fire, but it's cold. If she can do this much, I'm just wondering like what Elaine can do. Cassian and Nesta's relationship, their chemistry is just like off the walls. When they first came together, she was just like, oh, this is just sex. Like we're not going to, you know, have any sort of like relationship, even though in her heart she wanted more. They are just meant to be. They always have been. They've always had this insane connection, this insane chemistry. Of course they're mates. Who would have guessed it? Like everyone. I love it when the mate bond happens. I'm just confused about all like the mate bond thing, because you've got characters like Elaine and Lucien. Lucien knows that Elaine is his mate. Like the mate bond has already just happened for him, but for Elaine, it just like hasn't happened. She wants nothing to do with Lucien, which is like, it kind of makes me sad, because Lucien, he's got his moments, but like Lucien overall is just a really great guy, and he tries so hard with Elaine. He's so patient with her. She wants nothing to do with him, and yet he keeps trying. He keeps giving her gifts. She gives him no gifts. Like at the winter solstice, no gifts for you, Lucien. I'm sorry. I want to know why she is like that towards him, because I don't remember if maybe it was talked about in the, you know, the last books, but like I don't think we've really ever gotten a reason why she is like that way towards Lucien, because like he's just, the guy loves her. I feel like in a way, like how could he not if that's his mate? Maybe Lucien will fall in love with somebody else, like that Vasa girl that we keep hearing about. I feel like there's somebody else for Lucien, and then Elaine is probably gonna end up with Tamlin. I mean, like that's my theory. If it comes true down the line, then haha, haha. Back to the 3 dead trope. Those things are kind of scary. We need to destroy them, but obviously we can't because they've said that we can't. I just think it's really dangerous to have those things just, you know, running around. People know they're out there now. I just feel like the dead trope, it's gonna come into play in later books as well. Also, what do you guys think about them trying to pressure Rhysand into becoming like the High King? Like, no, I just feel like that won't work. Obviously, it didn't work thousands of years ago when there's one king. Rhysand is great. I love Rhysand. I feel like Rhysand is just, would be a great king, but he's kind of a king already for his court. I just don't think that would be the great way to go because we've got other courts. They probably won't want Rhysand to like be ruling all of them. I just don't know how to feel about it. Oh my god, Feyre and Rhysand had a baby in this book. When we found out that Feyre was pregnant, first off, I knew she was gonna be pregnant because of the novella. Like, obviously, she was gonna get pregnant. I didn't know it was gonna happen this soon. I'm so happy. It was so awesome. But then we got like those news that Feyre had a complication and the baby boy had wings, which is just not good for her. It could end up killing her and the baby. I never would have thought that High Fae and babies with wings would have complications in birth. I'm hoping that if they have other children in the future, and I'm hoping they do, maybe a daughter, that they don't have wings. Like, let's not go through that again. Because that moment when Feyre was literally dying, in my head, I knew like there's no way we're gonna end this book and Feyre and Rhysand both and the baby is gonna die. Rhysand and Feyre made that other bargain that if one of them dies, the other one would die as well. So if Feyre were to die, Rhysand's gonna die as well, which I think is overall, like, you know, it's stupid, but it's very romantic. I respect that decision because thinking of one of them living and the other one not, living their immortal life without the other one, it's just wrong. The baby's name, Nyx. I love that name. I adore it. I'm so excited to see, you know, baby Nyx and Feyre and Rhysand as parents in the next books. I'm just so excited. I just love it. Every single time we had a new name scrawled on that sheet of paper, the priestesses coming in order to train. When we first got Gwen, I was like, yes! I love the Valkyrie? It reminded me of like Artemis and like the hunt, you know, in like the Greek mythology myths. I'm so happy that Nesta has like rebirthed this army. Like, we have all these priestesses that have had gone through so much traumatic events that we don't even know. Like, there's different priestesses that we have briefly met, but we don't know like their story. Speaking of stories, I love the friendship between Emery and Gwen and Nesta and how they were all confessing like their stories to each other. Nesta starts talking and she's just so ashamed of herself, the decisions that she's made, the way that she's treated people, her basically just being ashamed of her story and being like, I know like my story is blah blah, you know, like she doesn't even feel like she should be telling it. And Gwen, I think it was Gwen or Emery, told her, no, your story is important too. It was a beautiful moment. Their friendship is so sweet. They even have friendship bracelets. They had a sleepover and had friendship bracelets. It was so great. Obviously the sleepover ended in a very bad way, but it's the thought that counts. Okay, this is something that I have always thought about Nesta, Elaine, and Feyre. I knew that Elaine is the middle child, but for some reason in my head, Elaine is the youngest because Elaine comes across as being like the most naive, like the most innocent, the most pure-hearted. Feyre is the youngest. So like, wouldn't you think that the youngest of the family would be the one that the oldest of the family takes care of, right? So like, in my head, for like the longest time, I thought Elaine was the youngest because she just gives off the youngest sibling vibe because she like does not have to do anything. She like works in her garden. I know that's what she does. Nesta fawned over her in the last books, not as much as in this book. Speaking of Nesta's power, once again, I love that Rhysand and her kind of had a little bit of like an understanding by the end of this book. Rhysand really didn't like Nesta for like the longest time. Obviously, Nesta didn't give him a lot of reasons to like her, but I'm happy that we have got into like a peaceful place. He saw into her mind. He saw all the trauma that she was going through. Her power is literally death. That's what Rhysand said. Azrael's like, what is her power? And Rhys said death. Pure death. I knew once we got to that part that Nesta was probably gonna be the one to save Farah, which she did. Okay, back to Elaine. It was so funny seeing Nesta actually have claws like towards Elaine in this book. Like she actually fought with Elaine. There was one really funny moment where she was like, Elaine, just go and mess with your little garden. And then she said Elaine was like a dog, loyal to whatever master kept her fed and in comfort. We haven't really learned a lot about Elaine. I don't know, I just get a weird vibe from Elaine. Okay, that one moment where we found the Maas, and it was all because Nesta got pulled into the water by this gross beast that I could actually imagine in my head. It was right before I was going to sleep. I read this chapter, a kelpie. It was so scary looking. I mean, what I was imagining was just so scary, kind of like a mermaid, but like with like really long dark hair and like black as night eyes and like razor sharp teeth. It just wasn't, it was, and it was like talking to her, and the things it said to her, not a part you want to read before you fall asleep at night. One of my favorite parts, because I thought it was just like hilarious, was when Nesta showed off like her dancing skills at that ball. Everyone was there and everyone had their eyes on Nesta, and so did Eris. And this is one of the reasons why like Eris, like his attitude kind of throws me off, because I want to like him. He's done bad things in the past, so I also don't like him. But then he also does things that makes me not like him even more, because he's got like an arrogant attitude. She was dancing with him and he was just like fawning over her because she's just like this wonderful dancer. She just kept spinning and spinning and spinning, and I was getting dizzy just reading it. I'm surprised she didn't throw up, like honestly. And then Cassian cuts in because he gets really jelly. People talk down to Cassian so much, it's just annoying. Okay, Cassian is so strong. Cassian is so kind. Cassian is just better. His character just shines through, and every single time somebody talked down to him, it just made me so angry. And the fact that it got to him, like over time, he doesn't think that he's good enough for Nesta, because, you know, Nesta should be with like a prince like Eris, and it's just heartbreaking, because, you know, Cassian deserves the world. But it was so funny because Eris was like propositioning Rhysand, saying, I want to marry Nesta. Nesta is going to be my bride. What kind of proposal is that, Eris? Like, get down on your knee and present her a ring. Obviously, she wouldn't say yes, and I wouldn't want her to, but like, the fact that he is so arrogant that he would go up to not even her, but Rhysand, to be like, okay, I see what you're presenting me. I want Nesta as my bride, and you're gonna give her to me. No. So the blood rites. When Gwen, Nesta, and Emery were shoved into the blood rite, I knew it was going to be like a moment just like Cassian, Azriel, and Rhysand getting to the top together. Stupid Illyrians, they are so frustrating. They pushed them into the blood rite and they came back and defeated all of them. I mean, don't mess with the Valkyrie. That's all I'm gonna say. I think the person that I was most proud of during this whole entire blood rite thing was Gwen. Gwen had a hard time to even get out of the library. Like, she would barely even leave to go train. She has come such a long way, and so that's another reason why I'm just hoping we get a book with her, because I love Gwen's character. And then we have this plot going on when the girls are participating in blood rite. We have Azriel and Cassian trying to track down Eris because he has been kidnapped by that queen. For a second there, I really did think that Eris had betrayed us, because like, he's just, I don't know, like, he's not somebody that I would trust, and I didn't really trust him throughout this book. Like, why would you knowingly betray your father? That's what I thought at the beginning, but then we found out that his father is literally the worst, so. And when Cassian got underneath the control of the queen, right when Nesta and all the girls are about to win, and he says, and now I'm going to slit your pretty little throat. What? This was a very intense scene, because I knew that if he ended up killing her, which I knew that he wouldn't, but if he ended up killing her, he would feel so guilty for the rest of his life, and if she had to end up killing him, she would feel like crap for the rest of her life as well. And then we find out that this entire situation with the queen and everything is all because she wants to look young again. We're going through all of this because you want to look young again. Come on, lady. Buy some anti-aging cream. Put it on every single night. That'll do the trick. Thank goodness that her power kicked in and she used it against the queen and literally just turned the queen to dust, which is kind of scary. If you really think about it, that she can do that, I don't know if she can still do that, obviously, because she gave her power back to the cauldron. I don't know the abilities that she still has. She's still immortal, she's still high fae, but I don't think she still has the abilities that she had before. And then we don't even get to breathe. We have to be transported to where Farah and Rhysand is, and the whole giving birth process, which we've already talked about, but it still was a really heartbreaking slash awesome scene because Nesta saved Farah's life and told Farah that she loved her, and it was just a really sweet but intense, scary, heartbreaking moment. And then we end the book where Cassian and Nesta are basically just like getting married, and Rhysand is just showering her with gifts because he's alive and his baby, and Farah is alive because of her. I loved this so much. I'm just really sad that it's over and that I don't know how long I'm gonna have to wait for the next one. So guys, those are all my thoughts about this book. I cannot wait to see who's gonna end up with who in the next books, like who are the next couples. I would love to know who are your guys' like ultimate ships, who are like people that you want to have books about. Leave down in the comment section below all your theories, all your thoughts about this book, and what were your favorite scenes. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!